This is a 2004 Maybach in silver with a blue Galapagos interior. This is the OG Maybach, not the crappy rebadged S-Class you see Kanye and 50 driving around in today. The real deal. And today, we're in beautiful northwest London because, well, it was cheaper to go there than get picked up from south. Now, the first thing you notice when you look at this car is everything about it is big. From its enormous 6.2 metre body, its humongous 5.5 litre supercharged engine, and most importantly, its giant trunk. This thing has a 610 litre luggage capacity. Just think how many bottles of lean you could fit in there. Back in the day, even the most basic version of this whip would have cost you a cool 300 racks at least. So it's no surprise that the Maybach became a favourite amongst bougie ballers for a good decade. So if you're a big fan of rap music like me, then you'll have been no stranger to the Maybach brand over the years. In fact, sometimes it feels like you can't listen to a single hip-hop song without hearing the luxury brand getting a shout-out. In fact, it was former rapper and current festival scammer Ja Rule that was rumoured to have been one of the first New Yorkers to actually buy the Maybach. And after that, Ja Rule continued to make history by becoming the first idiot to get arrested in his Maybach after getting caught with a gun in the car. But he wasn't the last. Actually, fellow rapper and lowest scoring hand in hip-hop Scrabble, T.I. was also arrested after getting caught with drugs in his Maybach. And this was only 7 months after that same incident where he got caught with a trunk full of dicks. Sorry, I mean guns. Now, I'm not sure if he was actually in the Maybach when he got caught for those guns, but with this much space and this much legroom, you'd be a fool not to fill it up with straps. You might remember that DJ Khaled, Jay-Z, and Future famously sang, "I took the top off the Maybach," in reference to their $1 million plus Maybach Landaulet convertible. This was a limited edition model Maybach 62 with a retractable rear roof that was also famously owned by Birdman and for a little while Tiger before his got repossessed. In fact, there's probably more Maybach mentions in popular rap songs than I can even count in this video. Kanye West has actually had one of the most tumultuous relationships with the Maybach brand over the years. And interestingly, I just found out that he's actually rented the very car that I'm sitting in. There's actually quite a hard to find video of Kanye West actually getting his first G-Wagon delivered in 2001. And the dealer that sold it to him immediately trolls him for not splashing out on the more expensive Maybach.
Well, what I gotta work him up to is the new car we just get, the Maybach.
Oh yeah?
Oh, Maybach. That's 300, right? It starts at 300.
But that wasn't the end of Kanye's Maybach disappointment, and he famously rapped that the first day after his Maybach came out of the shop, his assistant wrecked it. So it was no surprise to see him many years later trashing one in the music video for Otis alongside Jay-Z. Funnily enough, they even tried to sell that trashed Maybach for $150,000, but ended up only getting $60K for it. But to be fair, you've got to be a master second-hand car dealer to get $60K for that cut and shut job. I can only pray that this wasn't the same Maybach that Kanye lent to Big Sean's mum when she was broke. Even outside of the hip-hop world, evil dictator, biggest rapper in North Korea, and the inventor of the low skin fade, Kim Jong-un, is known to own multiple Maybachs. And he's been seen sporting these fly whips at various summits and meetings all around the world over the past few years. Mercedes even came out and said they have absolutely no idea how he got those Maybachs, considering the fact that there is a trade embargo against North Korea. Though it does seem that he was actually the first Maybach customer to purchase the optional upgrade of the 20-piece human meat bumper.
So it turns out that literally one day after we filmed and recorded this thing, DJ Khaled upgraded his Maybach to have the 20-piece meat bumper that Kim Jong-un has. If you want to see that, it's in his music video for Jealous featuring Chris Brown, Lil Wayne and Big Sean. Unbelievable. Good work, Khaled. You the best.
But also, Kim Jong-un's Mercedes Pullman limo was seen stretched in 2010, but then unusually shrunken in 2012, though he did release a statement saying that it was just a cold day. But perhaps the most famous Maybach nod of all was Rick Ross, who named his record label the Maybach Music Group, even going so far to get the Maybach logo tatted on his face so you know it's real. And this tattoo actually makes Rose an official Maybach vehicle, and he's now eligible for a yearly servicing at any authorized Mercedes dealer. So why is the Maybach so popular amongst rappers? Well, essentially, it is just the height of luxury. Let me level with you for a second. This entire video, and pretty much my entire channel, is just an elaborate ruse so that I can ball like a rapper. So, without further delay, let me enjoy the ride. Baby. So this car is packed wall to wall with incredible features. One of the most famous features of the Maybach are the curtains, which of course you can see all around me and are actually fitted with a patented hater blocking technology. Block out those haters. One of the most striking features of the Maybach is of course the famous Triple M hood ornament, which many rappers have had turned into their chains, and of course another great benefit of it is any common folk that you hit with this car will be lucky enough to have the Maybach logo imprinted on them for life. And rumour has it that Rick Ross was actually hit in the face with a Maybach, which is how he got that terrible tattoo. Another amazing feature about the Maybach is of course the built-in phone, which is very handy for making personal calls or calling the plug. Hey mum. Hey, how you doing? You right? Yeah, no, it's all going well. It's all going well. Yeah, I'm safe. What? Yeah, no, I'm wearing a seatbelt. Yeah. What do you mean it doesn't sound like I'm wearing a seatbelt? No, don't come down. Don't come. Another very classy feature of the Maybach is, of course, the custom built-in champagne flutes, which are, of course, Maybach branded. Also features another lovely selection of custom branded Maybach goblets there, if you want to drink some whiskey after a hard or depressing day. But of course, what is a luxury Maybach champagne flute without, of course, your own built-in mini fridge and bottle of champagne? Oh, hang on. Sorry, where's the champagne?
So that's extra.
Oh, right. Well, I got the Prosecco, but apparently I can't be trusted inside the car with liquid, so I decided to have a little stop off and have a nice little picnic with the trusty Maybach here. And so if you were enough of a baller to own one of these Maybachs yourself, you would obviously be using these lovely Maybach flutes inside the Maybach, but to each his own. Whee! Hey, come on. Look at that lovely stuff. Pour yours first. And if you're a real classy Maybach owner, you want to go with the Hood Mimosa, which was the lovely Tesco's own brand of orange juice there. Lovely. Cheers. Cheers, big man. Oh, it tastes like money. That's the life. Another impressive and luxurious Maybach feature is the frosted panoramic roof, which allows you at the push of a button to become a one-man Mr. Burns and block out the sun, which is very handy for blocking it out if you're getting a little bit too much sun, or for opening it up if you want to look at the stars and pretend you're in a Rolls Royce for a moment, or of course just blocking out the judgmental look on God's face for having bought such an expensive luxury whip. Another amazing feature in the back of the Maybach is the onboard DVD player and dual screens, which allow you to watch your boy Traplaw Ross in luxury. The great thing about the Maybach is the sheer attention to detail. I mean, as you can see here, they've actually etched the Maybach logo into the headlights on the car. Rumour has it that if you actually look directly into the light whilst the full beams are on, you get the exclusive Maybach logo etched into your eyeballs. Hit me! Oh, baby. That's good stuff. Another amazing feature of the Maybach is the incredible glove box, which is actually climate controlled so that you can keep things inside it cold. Excellent for keeping the ice cold. Another handy feature in the back of the Maybach is the sheer amount of storage facilities, which are amazing for storing any of your trinkets, or in TI's case, weed and guns. So you could probably fit a bit of weed in there, a couple of guns in there, some more weed in this side flap, probably fit one gun in there. You could definitely stash some weed and a gun in the fridge, and of course, a little extra stash spot for any additional weed or some luxury Maybach headphones. Splash man down when I rambo back too loud, hey bro, be quiet. I'm violent, but silent. Wilhelm Maybach started the Maybach engine construction company with his son Carl in 1909. This actually came after leaving Mercedes, where he had worked on building one of the first Mercedes-Benz vehicles ever. The Maybach company initially got started building engines for Zeppelins, you know, those big dick-shaped balloons that fly in the sky. You might remember Zeppelins for flying over football stadiums, or telling drug lords that the world is theirs, or for dropping bombs on English civilians during World War II. Oh, the humanity. In fact, it was the Maybach MB4 engine that became very popular and was used in a lot of German aircrafts during World War I.
Maybach music.
However, things got real for the Maybach company in 1919 when they revealed their first production car at the Berlin Motor Show, the Maybach W3. The Maybach W3 was an absolute beast with an enormous 5.7-litre engine, an incredible 6 cylinders, whatever that means, and an impressive 2-speed manual gearbox, which I only assume was fast and slow. The Maybach W3 was capable of a jaw-dropping 68 miles per hour and had an impressive 69 brake horsepower. Wilhelm and Karl Maybach continued growing their business, producing opulent automobiles for the next few decades. But business really boomed when they expanded their capacity into producing engines, gearboxes, and steering systems for other land-based vehicles. But for some reason in the 40s, Maybach made an absolute killing in German military contracts. This is kind of unusual because I tried to look this up in a book on German history, but it just said that Germany was closed between 1940 and 1950. Oh no. Oh no. Oh God! No, it turns out that in 1940, a colossal arse named Hitler decided to ruin the fun for everybody in an attempt to take over Europe. What a knob. So if you're German and your great-great-grandfather fought in Hitler's army of fascist twats, then chances are he was riding clean in a Maybach. That's right, it turned out that Maybach actually produced all of the engines for the German tanks in World War II. That included the Panzer tank 1 through 5 and of course the Tiger tank 1 and 2. Tiger? Tiger? So I guess it turns out that DJ Khaled wasn't the first person to take the top off the Maybach. However, unfortunately for the Maybach company, Hitler decided to take the top off his own head and rage quit on World War II in 1945. After World War II, the Maybach company lay dormant for a few decades until in 1960, the Mercedes-Benz company Daimler decided to get their Rick Ross on and buy the Maybach company as a whole. For many decades, the Maybach brand was just tasked with building special editions of Mercedes model cars, including the W108 that predates the S-Class and the W116, which was actually the first Mercedes model to be called the S-Class. But despite being built by a guy called Maybach, none of these cars were ever officially titled a Maybach, but that all changed in 1997. So at the Tokyo Motor Show in '97, Mercedes decided to announce the first ever fully branded Maybach that wasn't available exclusively for Nazis. The original reveal was interesting, initially showcasing the Maybach with some very large and ugly oversized Mercedes badges on the front and on the steering wheel, as well as a laughably extended long wheelbase and a vomit-inducing three-tone black, brown and beige paint job. But jokes aside, this was a really impressive and forward-thinking design for 1997. I mean, this is how the S-Class looked back then. So this design was all well and good, but it would actually be another 5 years before the Maybach would actually hit the market and be available. And by this point, competition in the luxury car market was fierce. But despite that, Mercedes launched the full-blown Maybach in 2002 at a very glossy event where the Maybach was given the full David Blaine treatment and shipped in a glass box on the QE2 from Southampton to New York City. Interestingly, this was the same voyage that the Titanic took back in 1912. Fascinating when you consider the fate of the Maybach brand. And say what you want about the Titanic, but at least it was able to turn a profit. Once it arrived in New York City, the Maybach was then airlifted to Wall Street by helicopter. Typical Maybach, broken down already. This scene frankly looked like one of the more elaborate missions from Grand Theft Auto.
Hey Nico, it's Shine. You got 3 minutes to take the Maybach to Wall Street or my ass is grind.
But with the Maybach launched, it finally went on sale, and the starting price was an eye-watering $350,000 for the 57 model. The even more expensive 62 model that I'm sitting in now could have come in anywhere from $400,000 to $500,000. But by the time the Maybach finally hit the streets in 2002, a new model of the S-Class had already been released, and it looked incredibly similar to the Maybach and had a much more reasonable price tag of $70,000. Meanwhile, Bentley and Rolls-Royce had both rolled out their own new luxury sedans, the Phantom and the Continental Flying Spur, both top choices amongst rappers and trappers. They both had similar prices, but arguably slightly more inspired exterior designs. Though that said, one area where the Maybach brand was able to differentiate itself massively was the new Launderette model, which featured a retractable, convertible roof at the rear. This was a feature that hadn't been seen in any Rolls-Royce or Bentley models before, and it definitely caught the attention of hip-hop's royalty. But then again, Maybach say that they only sold 8 of these, and I can name 5 of them: Drake, DJ Khaled, Birdman, Lil Wayne, and even Tiger. Basically, at this point, Young Money, Cash Money are the only people keeping Maybach in business. Furthermore, another failed attempt to diversify the brand came in the form of the $8 million Maybach Exelero concept coupe. This got a lot of hype, and even Jay-Z pretended to drive it in the Lost Ones music video. There were also rumors that veteran Maybach owner and compulsive liar Birdman was going to buy it for that $8 million price tag, but ultimately that all turned out to be capped. So that car never actually launched, and it was another time-wasting flop for Maybach. In the face of these flagging sales, Maybach was really on the ropes. Initially, at the launch, the Mercedes-Benz head honchos had predicted they were going to sell 2,000 of these every single year.
The actual market for this type of cars is about 2,000 units a year worldwide.
But actual sales were dramatically less, peaking at only 244 units in 2004, and they didn't even manage to sell 100 cars worldwide in the years 2009 and 10. Ironically, these were the same years that Mercedes-Benz were breaking sales records. In fact, it's actually believed that there's less than 3,000 Maybachs in circulation since they were released in 2002. But to add insult to injury, it's actually rumoured that Mercedes-Benz made a €330,000 loss on every single Maybach that rolled out of the factory. So that's tough times, and especially when you compare those sales numbers to the Rolls-Royce Phantom, which sold 4,000 units in 2018 alone. At this point, that actually makes the Maybach more endangered than the giant Panda. Although, to be fair, the ride quality in the Maybach is much better. In fact, some rappers have even taken to back-alley breeding of Maybachs just to try and increase supply. So it seemed like the only people keeping the Maybach brand alive were rappers, people that wanted to look like rappers, and Kim Jong-un, who will wrap you up and put you in the trunk of his Maybach. Ultimately, the brand was shut down as an independent entity, and the last Maybach rolled out of the factory in December 2012. But there was still a little bit of hope left for the Maybach brand, and in 2015, Mercedes-Benz announced that there would be a special Maybach edition of the S-Class on offer, kind of like a hip-hop version of the S63 AMG. The most notable change is it's essentially just a luxury trimmed version of the S-Class, and unfortunately it doesn't even include the Maybach hood ornament or badge on the steering wheel. It just has the Mercedes badge. Though, if you want to access such throwback heights of luxury, you can actually get yourself a Maybach hood ornament styling kit off of eBay for just £70. Funnily enough, this actually appears to be what Kanye West has done to his own daily driver. So now for the discount price of $168,000 plus a $70 styling kit, you can keep the Maybach reputation alive. But if that isn't quite enough money for you to be flexing your Triple M badge, then you are in luck. Because for just $600,000, you can get your hands on the Maybach Pullman, which is essentially a limo version of that Mercedes Maybach S-Class, which Drake has famously rapped about owning in his lyrics. But the Maybach design team lived to fight another day, and even in 2016, they announced the amazing Maybach 6 all-electric concept sports car. A really cool design, but ultimately just a concept, so nothing that's ever going to hit the streets. They also teased a futuristic Maybach SUV, which was intended to compete with / get demolished in sales by the Rolls-Royce Cullinan SUV. But die-hard fans might know that there has actually low-key been a Maybach SUV on the market, secretly for a couple of years. Maybach actually designed a little-known version of the G-Wagon, which featured an elongated wheelbase and that same retractable landaulet roof, which is available on the 62 that DJ Khaled owns. I took the top off the Maybach. I'm kind of sad that that's the last time I'm going to get to say that.
Maybach music.
So, that's the story of the Maybach. Once a powerhouse for building the finest luxury vehicles and engines. Well, not as fine as the engines in the British tanks, but anyway. They came back and rebuilt themselves after World War II, but unfortunately the hip-hop community just couldn't keep the Maybach brand alive. Growing up, I'd always dreamed of owning a Maybach myself, like all the rappers that I looked up to. But now the Maybach brand is just consigned to an overpriced body kit for the S-Class. Ugh, the S-Class. You might as well get an Uber Lux. I honestly wouldn't get caught dead in an S-Class. No offense, Diana. So, after a day that I'd spent my teens dreaming of, I've got to give the Maybach back. I've got to give back the Maybach. I've got to give the Maybach back. I've got to leave the Maybach. I even asked the owner how much he would sell it to me for, and he told me it'd be a cool 60K. And for a moment I thought that I could buy it, but then I had a look at my YouTube numbers and how little merch that I've been selling, and realised that it was never going to happen. For a moment I even considered making a run for it and stealing the Maybach, but then I realised that meant I would have had to drive it myself, like a peasant. So I had to do the right thing. I let the Maybach go. And while I didn't get to keep the Maybach, at least I'll get to keep the memories. I took the top of the Maybach. Top of the Maybach.